Alexis, the horror genre allows for filmmakers, for storytellers to explore universal and relatable themes in powerful and impactful ways. Can you please talk about setting your film within the horror genre and how it allowed you to kind of create this urgency around female autonomy that is very much needed?
Yes. Well, I mean, you hit on the very thing, which is that, I think had I written this as a straight drama, I don't know if it would have gotten made, but if you place something with social messaging, within horror or within comedy or with anything that just elevates it to a really entertaining level, people are more likely to sit up and pay attention and listen. And, to the question about female body autonomy, we started making this movie when Roe was still in place. And on the last day of principal photography, that was the day that the Supreme Court opinion leaked. And then 2 months later, when we shot the cold open back in LA, that was the day that Roe was overturned. And so this movie has taken on a whole, kind of unintended extra set of circumstances and an extra weight to it. But I'm so glad that it has. I'm so glad that we can look at it through that lens now, because like you said, it's incredibly timely and incredibly important.
Absolutely. Dianna, how does your character's experiences kind of examine the societal pressures put on women to not only get pregnant, but to want to get pregnant? Creating, it feels like an illusion of choice in a lot of ways. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. I loved that about this script because you meet this character, Ella, and she's a great friend. She's a great daughter. She's a great partner to her husband. She has a great job. She just really exists in a very lovely position in her life. She loves her life. She loves the choices that she's made. And yet people around her, she's in this spiral of being made to feel that she's ultimately making a wrong choice and she's missing out on a very important part of life. And that comes to a head when she goes to see a doctor and ultimately signs up for this clinical trial to see if something is wrong with her, if there is something, if she has a broken clock, so to speak. And from that point on, you watch her and ultimately her spiral downward. There's a lot that happens.
Absolutely. I mean, it's such an important topic to kind of examine because it's rarely talked about in our society, this idea that as women, there's something wrong with us or not natural if we don't want to have children, or that we're not whole, and that what that can do to our our minds. And it's something that I'm so glad this film exists. I was also thinking too about how I've thought about this a lot with my own sort of, fertility journey, how a lot of reproductive health language and terms are negative when describing natural events. Like miscarriage implies that the woman did something wrong. Biological clock implies there's a time limit. What do you hope, what do you both hope that your film can kind of achieve to re-examine the harmful ways in which we talk about reproductive health? Whoever would like to go. I know that's a big one.
Sure, I'll start. I mean, yes, you're absolutely right that the language used is incredibly negative, and that the onus is put on the woman that there's something wrong with them if they don't want children, or if they do have a miscarriage, or you're geriatric at 35 or whatever, and it's a ton of pressure. And I think my hope is that we can change the way we talk about it, and we can just change the way we talk to women so that we just relieve the pressure, because it's your life and it's your experience, and whatever you want to do with that, we should embrace that, and we should support women, whatever they choose, very judgment free. It's really as simple as that. I think too, if we were to look at it in a more positive light, and if we were to give more support, things might turn out a different way for some people,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too, just like kind of Dianna, what you were saying earlier about how your character is very content and very fulfilled in her life. And it's not really until she feels that pressure from the outside, and how simple just being asked, like, do you want kids? Is just such a loaded question. And then how, hopefully this film can sort of show that that's not just like a simple question. It is a very, can be a very harmful question.
Absolutely. And I'm quite surprised how often, I mean, the minute I turned 30 years old, the questions did not cease. And I'm quite surprised how truly it's widespread. I think that it's not only your immediate family and friends. So many people think that if they're stood in front of you, they can ask you questions about your personal choices and that it's simply okay. I was on a press line last year and a journalist said, "Your mother's name is Mary." I said, "Yes, that's so fun that you know that." And she said, "Well, is it at the top of your list?" And I said, "What list?" She said, "At the top of your baby list." And I said, "I am here to support a film. I'm quite surprised that you asked me that. And would you like to ask me another question?" I was so shocked in that moment. And I just thought, this is this is an experience that we go through, whether we're at a workplace or the grocery store, or, it's quite wild to me that it exists so completely, and that so many people feel that they should put their opinions about your personal life before your own needs. It's quite wild.
It is really wild. And good for you for responding in that way when asked that.
Oh my God. I mean, it was quite hard to even, get those words out because you're so surprised by the moment that, yeah.
And I think that's what's so brilliant about this film is that, Alexis, you've really sort of explored the horror that can come from just that question in itself. Yeah, brilliant. But last but not least, thank you so much for your time today. I always love to ask this question. What did you both learn about yourselves, professionally working together on this?
Alexis can do anything. She is superhuman. And I was just in awe of watching her make this film. This is her first feature film. This is the first of many, many, many films. And I'm just so incredibly impressed with her, my friend.
Well, the feeling is very mutual. I think Dianna got the script. Would you get it 2 weeks before we started shooting? Something like that. It was insane. And, you're given a 90 whatever page script. She's in every single scene of the movie. She, tons of dialogue, and she was just fearless. I mean, she just, there was nothing she didn't want to do or had any hesitation with. I mean, she pushed me, anytime I was like, no, maybe don't eat the raw egg. She was like, I'm eating this raw egg, like I just, and she just, and because of that, like it allowed me and the crew and just all the other actors around her to meet her there and to take risks and to just say yes to these rather crazy things my script was asking them to do and that I was asking them to do as a director. So I could not have been more blessed to have had her. I got incredibly lucky.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially, always there has to be trust when, working on any project, but especially within a genre film where the specifics are so important. It sounds like it was a lovely collaboration, and I can't wait for the world to see it so soon on Hulu. And I have to say, also echo Dianna, like you have the way that your career you've been curating your career for yourself. You've been taking on so many beautifully complex, important roles. And it's really been lovely watching it and in awe. And it's truly inspiring. And Alexis, congratulations on the first feature, one of many. So thank you to both of you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Meg.